You know what the funniest thing about Europe is?
What?
It's the little differences. I mean, they got the same shit over there that they got here, but it's just there. It's a little different.
Hey, welcome to another edition of JTJU, where we all try to be just a little better at the game of Clash of Clans. I got another format for you, of course. Can't stay with one, and I'm going to call this Little Differences. And what I'm trying to look at is comparing two attacks, one that worked and then one that follows that slightly adjusts the deployment mix, maybe both, and succeeds. In this case, we're going to take a look at a Town Hall 9. First attack was a 2 GoHo, and then came back with a Queen Dive Ho to follow up that ended up with the 3-star. So let's take a look first at the attack that didn't work, and then we'll figure out what the differences were. Alright, so let's take a look first at the 2 GoHo that failed. I'll just hit play on it. They come in first with a trigger from 12 on the archer tower there that you see right now, and then 2 PTK the dragon down, which is fine. There's a slight difference in that when you watch the following one. They actually sent in enough hogs there, 1 versus 2, to get the archer tower down, which helps the pathing later. But then here comes the 2 golem. It's kind of brute forcing it in off of some whiz backing. Coming through, and then the jump placement there to give the king access to the mid channel. I think the biggest difference that you'll notice in the next attack is that the synergy between this group and the hog team is off. This group is in there kind of isolated, fighting for their lives, not really sucking up damage for anything else, and notice how the hogs come in when they're gone. So there's no real value there in terms of this core team being in the center. And you can tell how much damage with that Tesla farm in the middle. Even with the heals down on the hogs, they don't even get through to the next side. So that's when they first attacked, we saw that. And what I saw that was interesting is, let's go ahead and go to the other attack that actually worked. So this is, and watch for the differences, right, that makes it actually function. Very similar attack. It's going to be hog action off of a kill squad, but the kill squad in this case is a queen dive. I don't know if that's critical or not, but let's take a look at it and just kind of mark some things up. So first off, they come from 12 versus, so the hog action is coming from 12 versus from 1. I don't think that's a big deal, but what is a big deal is that there's 2 of them. So by the time the hogs take that down under single fire of 1 wizard tower, they get the building down. And I think a good rule of thumb, anytime that you're doing that trigger action, if you can get the building down as part of that process with an additional unit, you probably should. So let's clear this, and we'll keep going. Keep going here a bit. But actually, I take it back. Wait, notice. So if we flip over, I didn't even notice this till just now. Let me flip over to this is the base real time. Look at the trigger radius for the CC. So what they did there, to not only just add if that group had been under attack immediately by the CC, may or may not have gotten the archer tower down. But noticing that I can get this down, and really the trigger happens on the run through to the wizard tower. This very narrow, seeing that this band right there, that they can attack from this position and not trigger the CC, and then when they flow through, that'll trigger. Pretty insightful. So really 2 differences there on the trigger. I can't comment on whether or not it would have worked from the side. I mean, whether if the trigger happened while they were working, would that have stopped them before they get the archer tower down? But it's there, and so I think you should take it, and it was pretty clean. So actually 2 differences right off the trigger already. So let's keep going. I'll go back to, let me get my cursor back here. Is this one I'm on? No. Let's go back to the attack. So here we are again. CC's, the hogs just got that tower down. Let's resume play. So they die. They get smoked pretty quick. But they're there long enough to trigger the CC, get the dragon out, and I guess it's, 2 wizards and a couple archers? So they're out. Now here's an interesting difference. So now switching to the queen, a queen dive Now versus the 2 golem push. So a queen dive with what do they have? How many healers? I'd have to back it up a little bit. Let's see here. Hello. 6 healers. Holy smokes. That is a commitment to the queen dive. So that's the most you'd want to put on any queen dive. So that's a lot of slots. 6 times 14, that's 84 slots. Is that right? 14 times 6. 64 times 6. Yep. So that's equivalent to almost 3 golems. So it's almost adding more beef than he had in his attack. If you remember, the prior attack had 2 golems. Pretty impressive commitment. Let's just go ahead and go. So we're coming down. We still use the 2, even with that massive amount of healers on the queen. We're still using 2 poisons. Slows it down. Allows a lot of the small stuff to die off, and then it really just deals with the dragon. But here's the next difference. So knowing that, so they blew in the queen dive, so they sat there for a moment, and then they blew the hole, so that the queen would basically take this, and then move into position here. Now watch very closely though, and maybe let's go back to the map itself again. So when you look at the trigger radius of the queen, if the attacking queen stands in the wall position and shoots, which she would, for most of it. I don't know if she'll stand there for the town hall, but she will for the cannon and these 3 items here, and plus the king will come to her. It basically leaves the queen till a later stage. So let's take a look at that though. And so a better understanding of the queen action allows this to happen pretty cleanly. So there's the 6 healers going crazy. Queen's now standing, if you can see her barely. She's right there. And she's standing on the wall. So she's out of range of the other enemy queen. The enemy queen's not triggering to her and coming to her as of yet. Let's clear that off. She takes out the king. Takes a couple shots from him, but then gets it down under rage as well. So not only with 6 healers, but also under rage. And look at this. Here comes another golem. So way more invested in the meat shield or sustained shield. Queen dive basically is a sustained shield. So the Who attack, the first attack, used more of a 2 or 3 golems to start. Here, let's flip over there for a second. We'll check again. Yeah, so it was 1, 2. Yeah, so there was 1 from the CC. So way more investment in the meat shields. And if you remember the prior attack, it died out. So if they would have had that meat shield of just golems, forget about the queen dive, just 2 more golems. Because again, he's got 1 golem here. He had 84 already in play with the queen dive, a shield action. So he's got up to 114, only 6 away from 4 golems. So if he would have had that, added 2 more additional golems that flew in with the king. Remember the first attack kind of flew in this way, kind of moved through here, and then died off early. It probably would have had a very similar effect of distracting and giving the hog to have some action off of distract. But we'll let's keep going. So they're under rage at this point. We'll hit play. Notice still standing on the wall. Not getting shot yet. Still standing on the wall, taking out that cannon, right? So right there. We're targeting this cannon now, just like I said. So it's working this arc, standing on the wall. No reason for it to come in yet, which keeps the queen out of action until the last moment. And it took out, the other thing was interesting is it did have range. I wouldn't have thought it would have had range for the town hall. Let me back that up a little bit. When did she shoot the town hall? Let's go back to about here. Yep, standing on the wall there. Takes out the king. And right there, under rage, he takes the town hall out right from the wall. Now, see, that's when I was like, if you kind of glance at that, and you're like, all right, what do we got here? We've got three tiles, 4 tiles, 1 tile. So if she's standing here, it's 1 to 4 to the edge, 5 in. So basically, targeting for the town hall is 1 tile in off edge. So it's exactly the distance necessary to stay right there and shoot. If this town hall would have been shifted 1 more back, and the queen stayed in position, which isn't possible, the town hall will get shot first before the queen engages, which is a big deal because you don't want what you don't want to have happen. Let's say the queen was rotated and kind of more up this way, and he still did the same play. The queen, the queen itself will shoot the town hall and lock, and then the other enemy queen will work her as she's doing that, which could have been problematic even with 6 healers. But yeah, let's go back. All right, so we're back here. We're getting this very delicate take out the town hall without moving into range. And there's a shot from her right after the cannon went down. They exchanged fire, and she's down. She's out. And now this golem that he dropped from his CC is basically doing some trim action, taking out a cannon, getting this AD down, moving in through the middle, basically getting in position to do a distract play. But here's the big difference, right? So the queen's still moving, still under support, really not under a lot of pressure. You got 3 main units on her for 6 healer support. She's not really in any risk at this point of going down. I mean, these AoEs aren't going to hurt her. So she's going to just have a nice clean run. As she continues, here comes the king to move in. Still haven't dropped the hogs. We're waiting. Where's that golem? There's the golem right there. Sorry, dog's action up. But so there's the golem, still kind of working in the middle on that 1 AoE, taking the damage. The king doesn't have to. And the queen is now working this arc. So but here's the biggest difference, right? So neither king nor queen, or even the golem, is really at this point at notable risk from the core team wearing them out. And then here comes the hogs right away. So not even before the king moves to mid-channel and his golem hasn't even moved off here, the hogs are in play and moving. And they're moving as a single pack. There was a lot more of a surgical feel to the first attack. This attack has more of a, very pointed 2-point deploy. Basically, they're going to try to run the mid because they cleaned this here. So it's basically just a straight run through off the table created by the queen action itself. If we go back and we look at the first attack again and kind of watch the timing that happened here. Let's move forward a little bit. Right there. So see, now here we are at the same spot in the attack where the queen itself is moving. She's not down yet, but she's kind of strafing, and they're all going to move together in through the jump and then take the main unit. But notice we're taking a lot of damage. See, so we're getting this distract action occurring off the mid, but there's no value of another team sweeping on the backside. So that probably is the biggest difference in the attack. If you allocated, I don't think it's really about the queen dive as much as having shield unit, be it through queen dive with healer support or with golems or a mix of that. But watch the synergy. Watch how long this attack waits for the hog deployment, right? So now the queen and king and golems are in the mid. They're fighting it out, taking damage, right? We're still really not on the floor. Now we're in the middle of the thing, taking damage. The queen is almost down. She's hung up. That's the other interesting thing, is by coming in this way and pushing, the attack vector was different from the other attack in terms of the table setter, the one that creates that line of where the hog team will run straight across. I call that a table. So they've created this table, but in this case the queen is distracted. She's working down here first. The main attack has started earlier maybe than you wanted to. You wanted it to happen after this part at 6 o'clock was done. You would want all this gone so the queen could focus this out. But instead, they're trying to do some surgical action, move distinct units in at certain points and push through to get. But really the death of this, the power of this base is right here. So surgical distract on the edge, that works when you have the defenses spread out. But if it's all in core, all the Teslas are there, the Wiz towers are mostly all centered on core, you're going to have a hard time, clear that off, clearing it off. So if I keep going, keep watching the timing now. So notice at this point, the king is still up, the queen is down, the king is still now trapped because the jump spell spaced out, and there's no golem remaining, right? So the king's going to die here momentarily. He's going to try to pump it up with his ability. but really no distract in the mid for his team. And so they come in, and also these things are still up, and they get smoked right there. Too much. Right? So go back and compare that to this attack, right? So again, notice we've got the golem up, we've got the king and queen. In effect, this is a queen with 3 2.5 golems in front of it. And the queen has also done a different pattern of, we came in and we worked it with this type of feeling, right? 1, 2, 3, and then we pushed. Whereas the other attack was more of, it came in from this jump direction, and then the feel was this 1, 2, death, and it died off. So, this allows the queen to stay up. She doesn't get really pressured till later in the attack. And then she can kind of shoot into the things that are really going to mess with this attack, which are the AoE. We don't want AoE splash damage into that pack of hogs, or in his case, the pack of hogs that came to 3s but really consolidated here. So we keep going. And so see, notice how much damage his king and golem are taking now, right here in the mid. So everything in the mid, this Tesla, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's tied up 7 things for the hog team to run through. And he might be getting a slight heal advantage off of it as well. Heals being both for the hogs and for the distract team from the king and golem. See, king's still up, king ability just went down, golem's still up if you see it right there. And then by the time they can react, it's over. So very interesting in terms of the same, it had the very similar feel to it. But again, I think the big difference there was the attack angle that the second attacker, Loon, used. I can go to the map after this one's done. So there's the mix difference. 6 healers is a lot. But if you go to here, I've been disconnected for reactivity. Let's just draw on the map. I was just going to draw on the scout map for a second. And then we'll be done. So again, the biggest keys I saw is, one, if you're going to trigger, and you can do it, where you can actually get down the building and then push in to kind of shape, create a table, if you will, of one part of the pathing. That's good. You should do it. So we didn't do that. And then the other thing that you might have noticed is, as we moved up here, is the attack angle was slightly different. Came in this way and worked through it versus coming from this direction and working this way. And the big difference is there it was isolating. If you came in from this first direction, you isolated certain things at a time. It wasn't all at once. If you come in from this direction, you engaged much more of the defense. See how all this other stuff is engaging. If you're up here, you're taking a lot more pressure to do the same effect, right? So if you can come in from a lower, count the amount of DPS defenses that are locked to you at different points of where your units are attacking from. So in this case, as you watch the attack, you're standing here, you're engaged with 3 plus the king. You're standing here, you're engaged with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I'd call it 4.5 maybe, because these mortars don't really count in terms of single action DPS. And then at that point, you have free reign to kind of clear those 2 arcs. A much easier penetration push. And so then if you said, well, you can do that with queen dive support, or you can do it with supported healer support, or you can do it with golems. Either way, that meat shield moves up, and then you can have the same nice effect of a table coming across, right? Your team from here cut that across, takes this out as they're doing it, and while they're there, the timing of bringing in the hogs as they begin to move in. So they're about here, your hogs are coming in. And then the hogs will run through the 2 tables that you've created. And boom, right there. So it's a nice mixture of shaping and timing that I think makes the second attack, which is very similar. Came from very similar angles, similar mix. Because I see queen dive and that supported healer very similar to mass golems. Could have done a very similar kind of concept. you could have had the same effect. So it's really about timing. Anyway, hope it helps. I thought it was very interesting, so I thought I'd share. Talk to you guys later.
What am I gonna do? My clan sucks. Hey, it's JTJ.
I think that's an all-out attack.
No, it's the legendary JTJU. 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 What? I like Wryhorn. You and this army. Download Clash of Clans for free. Then subscribe to JTJU and win.